Okay, welcome everybody back to our Wednesday Virtual Connect series. We've got a good one lined up for you today. This one is on another HSW session on designing for wellness. It's presented by Powers Products, and they are one of our longtime and most significant industry partners for AI Colorado. So we're very appreciative of all they do to support the industry and to support you as practitioners to put some great projects together with all the help that they can provide. They were with us this year on our new and improved awards format, which was partially at a drive-in theater and partially on YouTube Premiere. And you're going to hear more from them at our Practice and Design Conference, which is coming up just in a few weeks. In fact, the registration launches today, so stay tuned for that in your email inboxes, and we hope to see you there as well. So as I said previously, you get 1 HSW credit for attending today's session. We ask that you stick around for the duration of the session, though, to make sure you get that credit. And of course, we ask you to use the Q&A function if you'd like to ask any questions of the panel. So we have quite a cast of characters from Powers today. Brent will introduce them to all of you, and I want to introduce Brent. So without further ado, let me say welcome to Brent Powers.
Thank you.
Lifetime of involvement with the Powers entities and represents the 3rd generation of family management and ownership. He came on board full-time with Powers Products Company in 1994 and spent the next 3 years in an outside sales position, promoting architectural skylight systems and smoke guard elevator or lobby smoke containment systems. In 1997, he briefly took over as general manager of the architectural products division before departing to pursue his MBA. After graduate school, Brent returned in December of 2000 and became the president and CEO overseeing its operations in Wyoming and Colorado. Brent and his wife Andrea are busy raising the next generation of Powers leadership. That would be number 4 on the home front. He enjoys coaching youth soccer and basketball, as an avid skiing, golfing, fly fishing, and hunting outdoorsman. So Brent, it's great to see you again and looking forward to what you guys have to share with us. So take it away.
Thank you very much, Mike. I'm not used to an introduction like that, and I'm getting very skeptical about this 4th generation right now as I watch my teenagers struggle through virtual school. But we really do appreciate the opportunity to do this today. We are really indebted to the architectural community for our success, and we love working with you guys, and we miss seeing you in person. We're trying to do the best we can to support your design efforts virtually and continue to provide educational opportunities like this. We really do appreciate AIA as an organization allowing us this opportunity to do this today. And as Mike mentioned, we do have kind of a full cast of characters. The way this presentation is developed, we have a number of case studies, and each individual will be chiming in at some point to give you a little personal kind of flavor to these projects that we've been involved with. But Gary Dvorak, I'll introduce first. He's in charge of really all of our business development for the architectural community, and doubles as our daylighting engineer. So he has a really rich background in the lighting industry, and then working directly with Solitude for a number of years. So he does daylight studies for us, but also just a lot of outreach, and has really captained our virtual presentation series this year. Ken Senor has been with us close to 30 years. Our product manager for Cowwall translucent daylighting systems. Dave Steele, another guy who's been with us for about 20 years, is our product manager for Modern Space Flexibility products, as well as a number of other lines that are kind of in that area. Keith Lunsford, who's our product manager in our fire and smoke separation arena, focused on the Smoke Guard and McKeon product lines, and also doubles into the space flexibility area a bit with Renlita, which is a vertical acting wall system. And then Brian Mackey, who works in our daylighting and space flexibility arenas as our product manager for Solitude and Skyfold. So we have been around since 1941. So long history in this market, really focused on these niche product lines. And we're really kind of geeky and passionate about these little niche areas. And, really the message I want to leave you with is lean on us for support. These are not systems that are necessarily involved in every project you design, but when you consider these products, we know we can really provide valuable support from a design specification, engineering, life safety, building code, engineering, a lot of different things that we bring to the table to support your team and really ensure that these products are detailed and designed, successfully and perform the way you want. So the three product categories, as we look at this slide: daylighting, cowl wall, translucent panel systems, skyline for our monumental glass systems, Solitube for tubular skylight systems, Kingspan more for the unit skylight product on kind of your big box warehouse and retail spaces. Gary, I think we've flipped around there already, but yeah.
Back around the horn again.
Fire and smoke separation arena, McKeon, and Smoke Guard are really the two anchor products there. Wide span products across both coiling, steel, fire shutters, and sliding steel products with integral egress doors, as well as real large span or wide span fabric curtain systems from both Smoke Guard and McKeon. Get involved in a lot of atrium projects now, providing kind of innovative fire and smoke control. You'll see some of that today. And Syntegra, which is an integrated door system for elevator lobbies as well as cross-border applications. And then in that space flexibility arena, Modern Fold and Skyfold are kind of the anchor products in there, as well as Renlita. So kind of all things that move to allow your spaces to be more flexible. So that's what we do from design conception through the life of the building. We install all of these products as well. We service them as well. So we're not just a rep in that sense. We actually install these products and service them for the life of the building. But that's just a really quick intro to Powers. I'm going to turn it back over to Gary, and he will initiate the CES presentation.
Awesome. Thanks, Brent. And thank you, Megan and Mike and the AIA for giving us this opportunity to share. We're really excited to connect with you today. We miss not being in your offices. So please remember, as we're going through this, if you guys have any thoughts on this, we really would love your feedback and love to have some conversation at the end of the presentation. So please take advantage of the Q&A and the chat room for that, that ability. And the learning objectives today, we're going to start out with talking about some common characteristics that we're seeing throughout the industry in buildings that promote wellness, really some interesting evolution of architecture. And we have you guys to thank, the really creative community here in Colorado and Wyoming. So hopefully these characteristics really reflect what you're seeing in design and implementing. We're going to talk briefly about some of the industry standards and the rating systems that are being used and how they're evolving to focus more on the wellness of the occupants of the building. And then we'll talk briefly about some economic impacts of the wellness architecture community. And just it's a rich opportunity, a huge opportunity for us because the wellness of our buildings is so important right now. And with the last 6 months, 5 months of what we've been through, it's becoming even more apparent that that's critical to our health as a country and as an economy. And then, as Brent mentioned, just lots of case studies. All of these are local projects that we've had the privilege to work with you guys on, both on the design side as well as the installation of the products. So let's start with those characteristics. And we're leaning on the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. They came up with a system, their Healthy Buildings team came up with a system of 9 metrics that they use. They call them Health Performance Indicators, HPIs. And these are used to measure the human wealth, well-being, and productivity of these buildings. And they termed it buildingomics. And you can see in this graphic in the center, the properties range from air quality, thermal health, moisture, safety, water quality, lighting and views, ventilation, noise. So a really holistic view of our building's performance and really how it impacts the people in these spaces. So this is kind of the foundation that we're using to present this presentation and draw together this architecture. And then this was interesting, just this presentation was pulled together before COVID. So we've really tried to lace in, a lot of what we're seeing and learning. And this is where I'd love your feedback. If you have some things that you're exploring as a company in terms of really addressing some of the COVID challenges right now, we'd love to talk about that at the end. But an interesting article in the Colorado Business Journal a couple weeks ago is from Justin Croft with Zeppelin Development. And he was talking about, what they're seeing and as developers, how they're really trying to address the health of our buildings around COVID. And elements like daylight, access to fresh air, abundant green space, those were key components of their buildings that they really feel make for a safe place for the employees to spend time. And just kind of doing a deeper dive into some of the bullet points that they're really focusing on. One is just the terms of the lease, that they really are pushing shorter 1 and 2 year leases with flat rates. So there's some leverage and some flexibility with the tenants, that they're not locked into long-term risky leases. They're also really proponents of low-scale walk-up buildings, primarily to limit elevator use. And a lot of buildings and sites don't have this opportunity, down in the vertical parts of downtown. But really trying to push the opening up stairways, making it a more active stairway, and that's twofold benefit. One is reducing or eliminating the use of the elevator, but also giving people the opportunity to work and move, to work out and move and get exercise during the day. Also, really emphasizing, and we've seen this a lot, roll-up types of doors to allow that ventilation and fresh air into our buildings, really important now. And then green roof walkouts, community gardens, native landscaping, just again, really that biophilic connection to the outdoors is important for people to feel and be safe and healthy in this strange time we find ourselves in. So we're going to start as we work down the characteristics on the left. We'll talk briefly about each of them, and then we'll kind of show through these case studies how these have really been implemented through the last couple of years of projects we're seeing in the community. Start with daylight. Interesting study that was done 2 years ago in the Harvard Business Review, and it was ranking perks that companies are offering to entice employees to join that company and retain those employees long term. And it was interesting. There are all kinds of different perks now. Some of these companies are offering amazing things, free food, coffee bars, really cool open offices, different types of desks to sit out, exercise rooms, game rooms, etc. But the number one perk, property of that building that they really cared about, was natural light and access to views. So just really interesting. We really do feel better when we have appropriate daylight in our buildings. And this ties back to our ancestral development, where we evolved outside. So our bodies, our brains, our eyes are really finely attuned to daylight. And in particular, our circadian rhythm ties to that 24-hour cycle of light and dark. And when we don't get adequate levels of daylight, we not only feel sluggish during the day, have health impacts, but we also don't sleep as well at night. So daylight's a really important aspect of a well building. And some interesting current studies are showing that we really need to have pretty high light levels, 125 plus foot candles for 3 or more hours a day to really jumpstart our circadian rhythm. So the challenge is to bring in those higher light levels without introducing glare. Fresh air is a hugely important component, especially in the last 6 months. And I think we're going to see this moving forward, that we're really going to want to open up our buildings more. Some really great strategies for opening up those buildings and giving people access to the outdoors and that fresh air to really provide that circulation. And there was a World Economic Forum, an article on 10 ways COVID-19 could change office design. This was back in April, which seems like years ago, but one of their 10 concepts, again, was fresh air. Just really the ability to open up a window, open up a wall, as we see here, and then more sophisticated climate control systems are going to be of more importance as we move forward. Movement, we feel better when we get up throughout the day and move. mentioned at the start in the Zeppelin article, really activating and making the stairs a prominent feature in the building, and really having people, encouraging people to use those stairways throughout the day to have more movement in their lives. Acoustics is another important property of a well building. Really interesting book and podcast by David Owen called Volume Control: Hearing in a Deafening World. There's a school in Brooklyn that had just years and years of really poor test scores, and they did a deep dive to try to understand where they could make improvements. Well, it so happens that there was an elevated train on one side of the school, and they looked deeper at the test scores, and the predominant number of kids that were really struggling on test scores was on the train side of the school. So they did a lot of sound mitigation, and lo and behold, the test scores on that side of the school drastically improved and balanced out through the whole building. So just a really interesting anecdotal story about how important sound is, and sound separation is for people to concentrate and perform well. Teachers were citing that they'd lose control of the class, lose concentration, and it took 10, 15 minutes to regain that concentration every time a train rolled by. So really an important aspect of our buildings is just good sound mitigation. And then a document, State of Our Schools, America's K-12 Facilities, echoes the same importance of sound mitigation. At least 6 major studies concluded that students perform much better, have much better short-term memory, recall, and academic performance in well sound mitigated spaces. Flexibility in collaborative spaces. We saw a real movement toward open office. I'm going to be fascinated to see how COVID might shift, some of these concepts. But one thing that's equally important to that openness and flexibility is access to Wi-Fi, even being able to have Wi-Fi outside so people, on nice days can go out and work outdoors. So really being able to move around and stay connected is pretty vital. But also the ability to reconfigure our spaces quickly is vital, both in a classroom setting, in an office setting, when we need to be socially distant and have that kind of privacy. It's important to be able to easily change and impact the space by changing the configuration. Privacy and personal space. Interesting study done looking at comparison of people's satisfaction or dissatisfaction with enclosed offices, cubicles with high partitions, and the open office setting. Maybe not so surprising results. The enclosed private office by far was the most preferred. Unfortunately, every office and business can't afford that space allocation to private offices, but it's by far the most favored. But what I found kind of interesting was the cubicles with high partitions actually had more complaints of lack of sound privacy and higher noise levels than just a straight open office. But both were, had pretty high levels of dissatisfaction. So really challenging type of space to design around. Some of the issues that were cited in these studies: lack of concentration, just worried that personal conversations would be overheard, lower productivity, and it can even get to a point where people are experiencing physical stress, emotional stress, and fatigue. So it can, again, really have a strong impact on how we feel and work. So just another architectural challenge for us is, how do we create these spaces where we spend 8 to 10 hours a day and make them comfortable for our occupants? And this survey was done before COVID-19 again. So again, we have these challenges of how do we keep people socially distanced and safe in our new settings. Some of the concepts on the right, again, the best option may be a closed type of office setting, and the glass doors really allow that shared borrowed daylight to be driven deeper into the building, which is something that people really love. But other types of cubicles and desk spaces which provide some physical barrier, would be interesting to see how this evolves over time. And I have heard there's huge shortages of acrylic right now. It's really hard to source acrylic because it's been used so predominantly. And then the last characteristic is a walkable neighborhood. You know, we want movement in our lives. It feels really good to get out, get some fresh air, get some exercise. You know, fortunately, we have some great downtown areas in our state where people can get out from their office and walk around. So pretty important aspect. We're now going to look at some of the industry standards and rating systems. And I would imagine most of you are familiar with all of these. Most of you may have been engaged with at least, you know, a couple of these metrics on your buildings. We'll start with LEED. You know, it's been around for a long time now, more focused on the building performance, but it really was the standard for a long time in terms of the rating systems used. We're seeing quite a shift the last couple of years. We get involved pretty heavily, especially on the daylighting side, with evaluating buildings for LEED performance. And we're seeing a real slowdown in buildings that are going after LEED certification. I think we're seeing architects and building owners using LEED as a guideline, as a design practice document, but maybe not spending the extra money to actually get the plaque on the wall. So that's one movement we've been experiencing lately from our end. Some of the other metrics are really interesting ones. A new rating system, fairly new rating system called Fitwell. And the scorecard includes, it's 55 evidence-based design and operational strategies. And really it's looking more at the individual occupant's well-being, about how well the building supports the people inside, you know, in terms of promoting physical activity, again, movement throughout the day, reduction of morbidity and absenteeism, providing healthy food options or being close to available healthy foods. And then some of the really interesting ones, impact on the community. How well does this building support its community in a positive way, as well as supporting social equity for vulnerable populations. So pretty fascinating to see these rating systems shifting more toward a holistic community and occupant well-being, in addition to just how well the building performs in terms of sustainability. Similar theme with Living Building Challenge. And this one was modeled around a flower, the petals of a flower, pretty interesting. It's really looking at the regenerative aspects of the building, and its contribution to the wellness of the people inside the building. The petals of the flower include place, water, energy, health and happiness. Materials equity, again, is mentioned, which I think is really interesting. Just how well do our buildings support everybody having the same access to these healthy aspects? And then even down to the beauty of the space. You know, does it make us feel better? Does it lift our spirits? So I'd love seeing the transformation of these rating systems, that they really are looking at the holistic wellness of the people in that space. So pretty cool transformation. And this one really emphasizes, the Living Building Challenge really emphasizes not, you know, limiting or reducing the negative impacts, but it really wants to push this building into the positive. How does this building actually remain self-sufficient or regenerative, you know, in terms of a positive impact on the people, on the environment, on the community? So it's really pushing. It's a rigorous rating system. It's a challenging rating system, but it really is trying to push us to have our buildings and our environment really be positive, on the positive side, and uplifting. And then the International Well Building Institute, Well, again, similar concepts and similar characteristics to the theme that we started the presentation with. the mission is really to transform buildings and communities in ways that help people thrive. And again, this is looking at community connection of our buildings and our architecture. And again, it's looking at the wellness of our individuals, how well it supports our nourishment and our mind and our a lot of the other properties we talked about: air circulation and fresh air, thermal comfort. Again, sound is an important one in this one. Movement, really getting people up and active again. So we see the recurring theme in these rating systems, and it's summed up in this table here. There's a lot to go over, and I won't dive into detail. But at the top, we're really looking more at the building performance, lead kind of taking the predominance of that viewpoint. But as we work down the chart, the holistic approach, a whole look at the wellness of the people as well as the impact on the community, and living building challenge, fit well, and the well building standard all really encompass the building health, but also the occupants and health and the connection to the community. And one thing to note, less than 5% of new buildings have certification of any kind. So still, a vast minority of the projects that we're seeing are certified in any way. On to economic and performance benefits of wellness design. A huge industry, a multi-trillion-dollar industry in wellness. And I think that's going to even become more important as we learn more about how to build around COVID and how to build safe places for us to spend the bulk of our lives. So I think we can have a really positive impact and have a lot of opportunity to really help our country move forward. And interesting that the Global Wellness Institute report did a huge survey of access to wellness across the globe. And you can see on this map, North America is performing reasonably well. I mean, there's a lot of improvement that could still be done, but in comparison to the rest of the world, we're doing pretty well. But one of the interesting aspects of this report was it's vital for a company to present to their employees that they really care about their well-being and their wellness. Really important to employees to know that the company cares about them, not only in terms of just their workspace, but also addressing emotional relationship needs, just really going to bat for their employees. And when people felt that their company didn't care about their wellness very much, it had a huge negative impact for people wanting to work for those firms or stay at those firms a long time. So again, just that reiteration that people really want to know that they're cared for, and our building and the design can really have an impact on people's impressions of how much that company cares for them. And then the cost of unwellness in this document was staggering. This document estimated that the cost of unwell workers represents 10 to 15% of the global economic output. So massive cost impact of illness, work-related injuries, cost of work-related stress, emotional issues, from people working in unwell buildings, costs of disengagement and lack of productivity. It's estimated over $2 trillion a year in the United States. So 12% of our GDP is lost because of people working in unwell places. So again, we have an opportunity to really impact in a positive way the people, in our community and the economy. So pretty interesting study on just how important the work that you guys do as architects is, in our place in the country. And on to some case studies. And again, I'm going to have my team present these projects. They all were intimately involved, which is really fun. I think it really helps to know the backstory and how these projects evolved. And we'll start with Ken Senor sharing about the Woodward headquarters.
Great, Gary. Thanks for the intro. This was a very nice design up in Fort Collins for a world headquarters for a woodwork corporation. They're both headquarters for offices and manufacturing. And they used our translucent fiberglass daylighting panel extensively in this project, both as a main shed skylight, 30 feet on slope and a few hundred feet in length, as a circulation spine. Also, though, in the manufacturing wing, where they used it both as full height clear story, ground to roof, in addition to kind of some pop-up monitor lighting throughout. So really interesting design. I've seen this manufacturing facility with the lights off in there, and you hardly need those lights. They are on daylight timers to come on and off as needed. But just great full spectrum light, nice airy feel, no glare, very important in this manufacturing facility. And I noticed when I visited the facility that the main circulation spine, although it is an access route to get around to the various parts of the building, it really was a gathering space. Almost every minute you can see this 300-foot long area being used by multiple people gathering and just wanting to be in that full spectrum daylight and have a little privacy from their office. So it kind of feeds into a lot of the issues Gary was talking about earlier. This one particularly had about 25% light transmission and about an R4.4 U factor, so very good quality of light, soft, non-glare, and just a really nice project.
Thanks, Ken. Yeah, and just this slide just really reiterates that concept of activating the stairway and making it a place for people to exercise and get movement in their day. So really a beautiful design on this one. Now I'll have Keith Lunsford share a couple projects that he was intimately involved with.
Sure, thanks, Gary. This is an apartment complex up in Boulder. It does have a little bit of low-income housing attached to it as well, but they really wanted to open this space up. So this small pool house with an extended pool coming outside really does, with the door, the vertical lifting door, with it open, really does open up that space in the pool. It's also a very high insulated door system. As you can see in the picture to the right, and that was actually photographed with snow outside. So just a great open space, brings a lot of light transmission through, well-insulated door. And again, this is just vertical lifting. So when it's in the open position, it disappears behind the transom, and then we supplied that transom as well as the door system itself. So we basically took care of that entire opening without having to coordinate with other trades. One thing the architect really wanted on this was acrylic. And actually Gary mentioned it at the beginning. Acrylic is hard to find. So keeping these from getting scratched is something really important to the client, and something that, you know, if you're speccing something like this, putting acrylic over the pool, worried about breakage, just keep in mind that, you know, this is a higher maintenance, the acrylic is a little bit higher maintenance and is susceptible to scratching. This is another project we did. This is Children's Hospital down in Colorado Springs. Really nice open feel to this two-story atrium space in this Children's Hospital. It's a really nice, you know, kind of a welcoming space. Lots of different colors and such, and really open. But in a hospital, you cannot have 2 stories in common in an atrium. So if there's an emergency, a smoke emergency or security, the next slide will show us those coiling doors come down and help separate the 2 stories from each other. So keeping it as safe as possible. But, you know, in normal usage, it really does keep that space open. This is a project we did down in Centennial. This was an existing building. It had been around 25 years or so, but they just had windows to the exterior. They wanted to really open this space up and build this just amazing open patio to the exterior outside the employee lounge. So we were able to do it with these counterweighted door systems. When they're open, it really does, bring the interior and exterior together. But when they're closed, it's the highest R value of any door in the industry, the best NFRC rating. So when they're closed, we are, still keeping the outside climate outside and keeping it pleasant inside. But with the push of a button, just being able to open this space and bringing the two spaces together. On this one, sorry.
Go ahead.
On this one, we did need to match the existing window pattern because it was an existing building. So we were able to make the stiles and rails match the existing system. So when the door is closed, all the sight lines from the windows as well as our new doors do blend in together.
Awesome. Thanks, Keith.
This is Riley Posner, a law firm in downtown Denver. Just a beautiful conference space that opens up to the exterior portions of their office as well. You can see those sliding glass doors. So a lot of daylight has been brought into this, as Gary mentioned, what people are looking for in workplaces, daylight being so important. So they were able to open up and make this a very big, large conference room, and yet using those vertical retractable operable partitions in there, you can bring those down and really create three different spaces in here. The acoustics are unmatched with these types of walls, super easy to operate, creating that flexible and collaborative space within minutes. Plus, the nice part of walls like this is that STC rating and NIC are the same. Once you put these in there, they're the highest sound control. And as you can imagine in a law firm like this, how important sound transmission going through back and forth between rooms is, really separates off the space in a very elegant manner, as well as just an easy to operate usage. And then again, in the open positions on all of that, it just creates this beautiful open space that you can walk out into the lobby area, as well as see out into downtown Denver as well.
Ken, are you available to share on this one?
Sorry about that, a little slow on my mute button. This is one of my favorite projects over the year with translucent fiberglass sandwich panels. This is the Bucksbaum Aspen School of Music. Just an incredible building site for one, right on the edge of a lake. Just very well done with the overall design. They have both a full height to create the parapet top with this system, and then a sloped sill to kind of mimic the surrounding mountains. This one we actually did with a 4-inch thick translucent panel to get our insulation value all the way up to a 12.5, and still have about 10% light transmission, which you can see in the lower right picture is more than enough in this setting. Soft evening light, light emitting, no light pollution. Just a beautiful overall design, won multiple awards. Again, just one of my favorite projects.
And there's just to mention real quickly as well on this this school also deploys, I think it's around a dozen of the vertical acting high sound separating wall systems for the practice rooms, the band rooms. So a great application for that sound separation with that type of system as well.
Yeah, and so Davida, and this is Brent chiming in. This is really the beginning of a great kind of redevelopment or development of that side of the railroad tracks between the highway and downtown. And Aquilon Leslie and MOA partnered on the first tower. Second tower for Davida went up as well to kind of complete their corporate campus. Really just this lively space they've created, full of energy, or obviously going through difficult times now, but they really did create just a really invigorating, great environment for their employees. The connectivity to kind of the core urban environment, via, this close connection to go over the tracks to get into downtown and back and forth, was really integral to the kind of master plan of this whole community. So just, yeah, really a great environment and great neighborhood altogether. If you haven't traveled along Wawata and Chestnut, it's like a whole new downtown Denver on that side. When you go to the interiors and some of the things and strategies that were deployed there, they've incorporated a multi-story atrium within this high-rise tower. With that comes the challenge of either addressing the Chapter 4 atrium provisions and IBC with a smoke evacuation system, or we in this case came in with an alternative solution using horizontal smoke and fire shutters. So we saved a significant amount of money, and the logistics of trying to figure out how they were going to integrate smoke evacuation systems into this atrium by using 3 of these shutters that close every other floor off. So really, the net result is you've got this wide open space to the occupants, this connectivity between floors, really just creating this dynamic kind of office environment, but at the same time meeting the fire and smoke, separation and building code requirements, in those atrium provisions. So really a beautiful space that Accolon and Leslie worked on, that we were really excited to be involved with. They also incorporated space flexibility into a number of their meeting rooms using both conventional side folding operable partitions, highly acoustically rated systems that integrate marker board surfaces onto both sides just for that functionality, as well as vertical folding or vertical acting operable partitions, just to provide a little more touch button ease of use at those applications, and capture that floor space back by eliminating the need for storage pockets. So 2 different systems, but again, just really hitting on that idea of space flexibility and allowing these rooms to be used collaboratively for different meeting types, different meeting sizes.
So this is the Lone Tree Event Center, Lone Tree Art Center. Just you can see the grand opening at the front there. Huge amount of daylighting coming through, a great gathering space, really well lit area. And then the space breaks up into a couple other applications. One of them being in this this ballroom space. There's a nice operable partition inside that helps break up or really open up the space. This 30-foot wide counterbalance door system to the exterior, this ballroom space to this outdoor amphitheater, so they can have bands and gatherings, right in the doorway, with the crowds outside enjoying the the night sky and the fresh air. Or when they choose to close this door, they've got, again, the highest energy efficient door system in the industry to close that space off and keep the interior well conditioned. Another advantage of this door system is it's just jam supported. So even at 30 wide and whatever, 8,000 pounds, no additional structure was needed at the header at all. It's just strictly jam supported. So easy to install, easy to operate.
Nice.
This is just a few different slides on how to incorporate tubular daylighting into some interior spaces in the school arena. You can use these devices as design elements, as you can see there on that upper left slide, really bringing a lot of natural daylight into the gymnasium area there, and then kind of a little coffer system that you see down on the right. So there's multiple ways you can incorporate tubular daylighting to connect people to the outdoor spaces. And these devices are great. As the clouds go across the sky in the afternoons, it dampens the lighting in the interior, and then it rebrightens it. So it really does give you that connectivity to the exterior atmosphere as well. As you see in that gymnasium in the picture down below, We've done a lot of lighting studies, as Brent mentioned. Gary's a daylighting engineer, and he and I have worked together. I'm working with a number of different architects, and in utilizing some of the larger tubular daylighting devices with a collector such as this, it's really become a workhorse for gymnasiums, cafetoriums, anything like that to meet the IECC code. And we found that it saves about 40% of the cost on the overall project. We're able to limit the number of penetrations in that gym space so you don't have a number of different cuts in your roof opening, and still allow a tremendous amount of daylight into that area, and then shrink the budget of the daylighting devices as well. From maybe taking it from 28 to 16 devices and really bringing that budget down. So great way to save some cost on your projects. Really reach out and look at daylighting studies with people as you start to model schools and bringing daylight into interior spaces. There's some great ways you can go about it.
Dave, are you available to speak on this one?
I am here. I was just
Awesome.
finding the mute button finally. This is just a demonstration of how space flexibility has grown over the past few years, and it just continues to grow. You'd think that operables were kind of dogmatic, but they keep coming up with new innovations. There's standard walls with window cutouts now, and all the way up to full glass walls, and now they've even can get up to a 51 STC sound rating. The units on the lower left here use those high STC walls with the addition of marker board panels, which are solid. So we're not only borrowing light, we're using them smart and get to use them as part of the classroom when they are closed. Motorized vertical type walls, they give the highest STC ratings. And the great thing about those is once they go up into the ceiling, you have a fully open wall space and floor space. So they're really coming up with some good innovations as far as automatic systems. The full glass systems give you full borrowed light, and most walls now, or soon to be, can be motorized for greater flexibility. So that borrowed light one on the bottom right that's not sound rated, but it's a nice wall.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, so Western Union, they recently, I think we finished this project about 1.5 years ago. So they relocated to Bellevue Station. They're the largest tenant in the first Bellevue Station tower, designed by Gensler, and Gensler did the interiors as well. And so they took 9 floors of this building, really a interesting design and interior project, in that each floor is really a nod to kind of their global footprint. So each floor has different color schemes and different design elements that kind of pay homage to, key markets for Western Union around the world. Every floor is really centered around this core of private offices that are enclosed with full height demountable glass office fronts with sliding glass panels. The glass sliders save some on the floor space to begin with. Multi-slide telescopic glass sliders on the corners of some of the collaborative kind of breakout spaces as well. So really, using that exterior or the natural daylight coming in through the curtain wall to borrow that and, really bring it deeper within the facility into these interior banks of offices is what they were looking to achieve. And they just did a masterful job with it. It's an absolutely beautiful space with an expansive amount of these glass fronts used within it.
So this is DU's new community commons, just a beautiful building right on Evans. A great social place for the college. It's really open. A lot of daylighting coming through, as well as a lot of traffic in and out of the building. This is where the old bridge across Evans connects. So they've replaced the building on the north side of the highway with this just amazing community building. They really wanted it open, as you'll see in the floor plan or this section coming up. They wanted all 3 floors to be really well connected and really communicative. You can see the floor openings, and they're all an unusual shape, kind of a kidney shape or similar through the building. The problem is when you get more than 2 stories connected in an atrium, you have to add a smoke control system. And with the scope and size of this building, it was really tough to design something that would even function in this building. It's just so big, and trying to bring enough makeup air through. So it was off. Between the second and third floors, you see those horizontal green lines. We were off with some horizontal fire shutters and completely eliminate the need for any smoke evac in the building, even as large as those openings are. I think our largest one is about 28 feet wide and just over 40 feet long. So substantial sized openings. We were able to put these horizontal shutters, attached them right to the deck below, and they completely concealed within the soffit. And it goes off. They automatically close. Don't need any backup power or anything like that to force these doors to the closed position to get a 2-hour fire rating between the floors. So just a great way to save a substantial amount of money in this atrium space and keep the space as open as possible. Heavy. The one we're looking at here weighs about 16,000 pounds. So good to get us in early to help make sure we've got the just the structural and some of the logistics planned ahead to get these units in.
All right, on to the Denver Art Museum. I had the luck of being able to drive by this on 13th every day for the last couple of years as it's been going up. Just a really amazing addition to our library here with this circular glass enclosed space. And we had an opportunity to do some pretty cool stuff on it.
Yeah, even in the early design meetings with the architect, sound and function and design were all very important to the whole design of this area. And to fit in better with the design, they needed to have a radiused wall. So it's almost a complete radius. It does stop in an area where they can stack the panels out of sight, 17-foot high panels. And just a lot of challenges here. We had to have the full egress out of there, so that called for pass doors within the panels. They also wanted some panels to be able to have projection surfaces on them that doubled as marker board systems surfaces. So it was a very functional space. This one wall out there, as you can see in those glass panels there, on one side it seals to those panels, and there's like a 3-inch thick piece of glass wing wall there. And we came up with a way to put like a bulb seal at the front of the wall to kind of seal to the edge of that panel. So not a totally soundproofed room, but it really worked for the function and the design on it. So it was a challenging install, but I think it came out really good. And even the track we had to kind of segment on site to fit the curvature of everything. So it's about the story of the wall at the art museum there.
Awesome, thanks, Dave. Yeah, and they've actually reopened the observation deck as well. So again, just that access to the outdoors. I haven't been up here yet. I'm not positive that this is open yet, but really excited to see this building being reinvigorated. Restaurants, the last 6 months have been devastating to restaurants. One of the things that's really helping is the ability again to open up these buildings. I think it's a big advantage that we're seeing with some of the restaurants that have the ability to do so. The Urban Farmer down at the Oxford Hotel, really a beautiful space. And this was a historic preservation project where we needed to match the existing facade exactly, and the use of these these counterweighted doors just does such a beautiful job of opening up the space, and matching. It's completely customizable in terms of the look of the mullions. And so again, just does a great job of integrating into this historic building. And then the C85 Wonder Bar, similar concept here of opening up the building. This project's up in Casper, Wyoming. And again, you know, tough winters up there, but these doors perform so well thermally that this just does a great job on that front. And then just a couple examples of creative daylighting, again, for restaurants and bars, and utilizing the translucent panel systems to drive the daylight in, but then integrating view glazing or tying into a storefront or curtain wall system to be a complete daylight system. And then a fun project I had the chance to work on with CSNA, ball seal manufacturing. And one of the driving forces of this project was equity. And I loved that the owner was so conscious of this equity of space, furniture, and daylight. And as you can see here, every square foot of this building is daylit, either by the windows on the side, but primarily by the tubular daylighting devices driving the daylight into the space. So just a really spectacular facility. And again, keeping in mind that equity of daylight for all the employees, I thought was really great. Office daylighting, just a couple quick examples. I know we're back up against the end of the hour. But again, just some really great ways to bring in diffused daylight, uniform daylight into the space. And then the last one, Brent will share this, and then we'll have time for some question and answers, hopefully.
Yeah, great. This was a really innovative project. This Cherry Creek School Innovation Campus that hosts a number of specialized education opportunities in different kind of niche areas, manufacturing, nursing, all sorts of different things. But we were able to incorporate some vertical acting door systems. So this counterweight balanced door system in 2 locations at their main entry on the top left, as well as in their kind of main cafeteria atrium that connects to the exterior on that on the right image. So again, that connectivity to the outside, bringing natural daylight in, as well as natural, or that air circulation, in our climate, when these can be opened very frequently, and also just the ease of use, touch button automation with these types of systems. So beautiful campus, also incorporated folding glass partition systems, highly acoustically rated. So Dave mentioned earlier, up to 51 STC rated with the folding glass wall system that you see there on the right. We used a 45 STC model on this. Again, they use these to separate off multi-purpose classroom in library areas that then connect to basically the main circulation areas of the school. Keep them open very frequently, but oftentimes have them set up, and really just works beautifully. And you're borrowing that natural daylight again to get into that space. We can incorporate blind systems within those panels if it's desired to provide some visual separation. And yeah, just a really exciting campus. My kids are in Cherry Creek schools, and this is a really special place they've created for the kids in that district.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and we're right at the hour, I believe. So wanted to turn it back now to Mike. I think you've been monitoring any questions or chat.
So we've got one question out there that maybe Keith can field. How fast do the horizontal fire shutters close? Keith, if you could field that.
You bet. So all fire shutters, the code requires them close anywhere between 6 and 24 inches per second, whether it's a vertical coiling or a horizontal. The horizontals do close right around that 6 to 9 inches per second. We have had AHJs require them close a little bit faster for larger applications, and we can definitely control that. Prior to engineering, we can change the speed of those, but simple answer, those ones that DU close right around 9 inches per second.
Thank you for the question, Nico. And again, boy, I sure like to reinforce to lean on each of these product managers. They live and breathe these products. So if you have those types of detailed questions and want to kick around ideas, please reach out to us early and we would be happy to support you. And we really appreciate the opportunity again to do this. So thanks to Mike and Megan.
Thank you guys so much. What a great presentation. And I'm sure that everyone will be able to reach out to you after this session if they have any additional questions, but thank you again.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, great to have you. And Megan, did you make an announcement for next week?
No, I did not. No, that's right. Make sure to join us next week for our deep dive into the EDI imperatives set by the board. We've got our EDI committee joining us. So we'll see everyone next Wednesday at noon.